man, Mike Hedding here. I've got another little mini banjo lesson for you today. We're going to be working on a bluegrass tag or fill lick. So a tag is something you can add to the end of your solo, typically before the vocals would come back in. And this is a really common one that Scruggs would use, Earl Scruggs, or my favorite banjo player, the boss of all bosses, J.D. Crowe, would use this one all the time. Check out the Bluegrass Album Band. You'll hear this lick all over those records. A great ending to a solo. I'm going to break the lick down and then show you a couple variations and kind of how I would use this lick in context. And if you like this lesson, you can head over to my website, MikeHeddingMusic.com. Sign up for the basic free membership and you'll get access to this lesson and all the other banjo mini lessons I've done. All right, here's the lesson. All right, let's start breaking down this bluegrass lick. And again, this can be used as a tag, so a lick at the end of your solo, or it could also be used in your backup, in between a vocal phrase. And I'll show you some common songs you can use this in. But let's start by breaking the lick down, and then I'll show you kind of the application of the lick. Okay, so let me play it, and then I'll break it down. Here we go. Let's do that a few times. One more time, a little faster. Okay, so we're going to start with our thumb on the third string. And again, this is kind of a tag lick, so this is going to be at the end of your solo. So we're going to hit the open third string with our thumb of our right hand. That's going to be a quarter note, so 1. And then we're going to go up and do a 2-3 hammer-on the second string, thumb middle with your right hand. So 2-3 hammer-on. So we've got 1, 2, and is how you'd count that first part. Now keep your second finger down and do 5, 2, 1, 5. Those are my strings, T-I-M-T. So we've got... Let's do that a few times. We're bringing our thumb down to play that second string. That's going to give it a little bit more power. That's kind of a Scruggs rule, is if you can use your thumb, you should. So instead of doing like that, index middle, which you could do, which you could practice that as well, but kind of more of a Scruggsy way to do it would be playing that with your thumb. Like that. So let's do that first measure a few times. And you can't loop it because it starts and ends with your thumb, but you can practice it. Make sure you're keeping that second finger down. And then right here, we're going to do it. You're going to move your second finger off the second string and move it down to the third string and do a 3-2 pull off with your first and second fingers of your left hand. You're going to have to use your index and middle fingers of your right hand because we just used our thumb at the end of measure 1. So we're going to play a 3-2 pull off on the third string, the third string. And I'm doing index and middle with my right hand. Let's just practice that a few times. So we've got... You could even practice that as a forward roll, so it kind of crosses the bar line. That's why it's tricky. So play the last note of measure 1. See, that's why it's tricky. It's because it's crossing the bar line. It's just a forward roll. What I'd recommend is even look down at your right hand and make sure you're playing that with your index and middle. Your thumb might want to come down and try and do that pull off, but really important, we need our index finger of our right hand to play that pull off. Okay, so that's the beginning of measure 2. Then our thumb's going to come down and we're going to play thumb middle, third string, first string. And then we're going to go up and do 5, 3, 1, 5. Those are my strings with a slide. And then open third string. So let's play measure 2 into the beginning of measure 3. Let's even just do the right hand once. That one you can actually loop because it starts with your index finger and ends with your thumb. So I'm just looping measure 2. I'm just pretending they're all zeros. The other thing you can do is if you're having a lot of trouble with that pull off, is just skip the pull off and just play it as the second fret. Here, it kind of basically sounds the same. So you've got, I'll play the whole lick now. So that's without the pull off. You can get the timing down and then add the pull off back. And then right here, this is where the lick can end, or you can throw one more Scruggs fill lick on the end of it. And then I just put pinches at the end. So sometimes with these tag licks, they can be different lengths depending on how long you want to tag the solo. Basically, you're waiting till the vocalist comes back in. So this is where, you know, you might see an extended tag where you throw a fancy little lick at the end, or you might just end it, just do a 2-measure tag lick as well. And then go right into your backup right there. So I'm giving you a couple options here, and you can shorten or lengthen these licks once you get it down as well. Okay, so that's the basic lick. And then again, I threw another little fill lick at the end of it. And one little other variation you can do is at the very beginning, instead of starting with the open 3rd string, you might also see it occasionally as more of a D lick, and that would start with the open 4 string. You might also hear it like that. So that's the only difference, is everything else is exactly the same except for that very first note. I'm just playing the open 4th string. Okay, so let's look at version 2. So not too different. I just changed the ending of it, so I'll show you how to do it. Right here, I just did a 2-5 slide. So thumb on the 3rd string. Again, you got to start with your index finger of your right hand. Really important. Our last note of measure 6 is our thumb. So this tag lick is really good practice of ending a lick with your index finger of your right hand, which, if you're a beginner, is tricky because you're used to ending everything with your thumb. But we're playing that 5th string right before it. So right there, we need to use our index finger of our right hand, and then we're going to start a 2-5 slide on the 4th string. Strings 4-3-1 and then 5-3-1. T-I-M twice. So that's a good lick. You got. So a couple songs you might see this in. A really common one is Old Home Place. If you listen to the classic J.D. Crowe and the New South album, Old Home Place, J.D. does this at the end of his solo. So listen for that lick. He also does it in between the verses. So if you hear, and the fox hunter blows his horn. Right there, he'll also hear him do it. So listen for this lick. A lot of times he'll do it at the very end of his solo. So it'll be the last thing you hear before it goes back into the vocal line. But again, he'll also do it in between verses or in between vocal phrases as well. Another way you can modify it is by changing the slide to a hammer-on. So I might go. And then right here, do a hammer-on. So everything else is the same, except I'm just, instead of sliding, I'm hammering on there. So let me show you a couple little JD modifications, JD Crowe, that he would do. So one really cool one is version 3. And then right here, instead of doing a forward roll, T-I-M-T, he would actually take out that middle finger, so of his right hand, and just let that hammer-on ring out by itself. And then right here, I'm just added a pinch as well. So why does that sound cool, right? Let's break that down a little bit. So one is, let's look at just the right hand of measure 10. Hear how it, once we take that middle finger out, it syncopates it. So I'll do it with the middle finger. So it's a straight 8th notes there when you add the middle finger. Which sounds fine, doesn't sound bad, but listen to if I do it the JD version with taking out that middle finger. It syncopates the right hand. Hear that? You get a cool syncopation. So add that back. It also highlights that hammer-on because you're not covering it up with the middle finger. Now we get... So it's trickier because you have to be, it's a little bit more complex right hand pattern, but really cool. That's kind of one of the geniuses of JD, I think, is those subtle changes on Scruggs style licks. That's one he would do a lot. Just gives it a cool syncopation. And then I'm doing just a standard Scruggs fill lick at the end there. So lastly, we can add just a little double hammer-on lick to the end. Let's do version 4. So after I did the... And I'm going to do the JD lick. And then right here I'm going to hit my open first string with my middle finger. And then do the double hammer-on. That's just a variation on kind of measure 3. So I'm doing, let's do just the right hand once. It's really syncopated. Add the left hand back. Same thing if you're having trouble with those hammer-ons, just play it as the 2nd fret to get the timing. Sounds more or less the same. You get the timing of it down, then you can add the hammer-ons and pull-offs back. So if you're having trouble with any of these licks, I would focus on the right hand. Maybe even just pretend they're all zeros and play the roll. You know, really make sure you got your right hand solid. The tricky part of this lick is all right hand. It's actually not what you're doing over here with the left hand. The left hand is fairly easy with these licks. It's going to be all right hand stuff. So if you're ever in doubt, go back to your right hand and just practice that, loop it a few more times. Make sure you've got your right hand really solid, and then add the left hand back. And lastly, I mean, most important with this lick is listening to where the lick fits in the song. So start getting this lick in your head. J.D. Crowe would use this lick all the time at the end of his solos. Check out the Bluegrass Album Band. Check out early Flatt and Scruggs songs. Scruggs used this lick a lot. But I would check out the Bluegrass Album Band. There's tons of JD solos where he would throw this lick at the end. And once you start hearing it, you'll notice it all the time. But with any lick, the most important thing beyond being able to play it is knowing where the lick should go. So that's where you just got to listen to lots of banjo and listen to lots of banjo players and figure out, you know, where this lick fits in, and also just try it. So play along with the practice tracks or go to your jam and try and fit the lick in and see where you can fit it in. And part of, you know, it's not always going to work on your first try. So part of what you're practicing is inserting the lick, figuring out where it fits and where it doesn't. All right, hopefully that helps you out. All right, good luck.